So I was listening to John Gordon talk, and he was talking about his brand, the things he talks about is positivity and love and that kind of stuff. And his, I guess he was not a very positive person necessarily back in the day, but this was something he developed in his own life. And one of the things that he said that was kind of interesting was he said that something along the lines of most of us listen to ourselves, right? We listen to our thoughts essentially. And instead of doing that, we should be talking to ourselves, not listening to ourselves. So, what does that mean? Well, basically, you know, uh, many of us have, we may have negative thoughts come into our minds, and if we can just kind of accept those, and just be like, oh yeah, and just kind of the chatter, we can just sort of allow it to chatter at us, if you will, rather than, so it's kind of just being in the passenger seat, if you will, rather than getting in the driver's seat and saying, now you listen here, and telling yourself what you need to hear, rather than just listen to kind of whatever comes into your mind, right? So, talking to yourself rather than listening to yourself, pretty smart idea, I think. Now, I'm not advocating for just ignoring your feelings or being oblivious to where you're at, right? Like, I think sometimes it's good to just be quiet and feel all the feelings, right? Um, but even in that, I think often we can discover that we have been listening to stupid chatter rather than speaking truth to ourselves. And so it's kind of an interesting idea of like, the thoughts in our mind can be, of course, they can come from the enemy. They can be demonic in influence, or they can be influenced by the demonic or come from the demonic. And then, of course, there's just thoughts that can come can kind of just exist in our minds because of patterns in our life, and the way our brains have sort of been trained. Our influences around us, either current or past. So there's a lot of different, and then also the things that we're consuming, which I guess would come into the influences category somewhat. But the things we're putting into our mind obviously can make a big difference on what kind of thoughts we're thinking. So, but the overall message I think was excellent. Don't be a victim of your thoughts. Be, if you will, be a perpetrator. In other words, perpetrate good thoughts upon yourself, and don't be a victim of negative and bad thoughts.